and the reason why I'm author guest of honor is because Jenny Carter texted me and said, "Hey, want to be author guest of honor?" And I said, "Yeah." It was not really much more complicated than that. I've known Jenny for ages, and I've known half the committee for ages, and the other half for slightly fewer ages. I am celebrating my 30th anniversary as a published fiction author this year, which means my fiction writing career can no longer be trusted. I've written over 60 novels, over 100 short stories, over 50 comic books, and more nonfiction than I can count because I'm bad at math. I've written in about 30 different licensed universes, from Alien to Zorro, and also including things like Star Trek, Resident Evil, and Supernatural, among others, as well as original fiction, fantasy police procedural series starting with Dragon Precinct, a bunch of other things, urban fantasy and things as well. I've got a new series that will be starting soon from the Weird Tales Presents imprint of Blackstone Publishing called Supernatural Crimes Unit, which is about a division of the NYPD that handles crimes involving magic and monsters. And hopefully that will be hugely successful.
Who's editing that?
I'm sorry?
Who's editing that?
I don't know the acquiring editor is John Harlicher at Weird Tales Presents. I don't think he's going to be doing the actual editing, but I'm not sure who it's going to be. Like I said, it's a new
concept. Yeah, I'm curious to see how
the Blackstone Publishing picked up Weird Tales a few years ago. They've been they're the current publishers of Weird Tales, and they're also starting up the book imprint to tie into it. They're going to launch with a book by Jonathan Mayberry called Necrotech, which will be out this spring. So, anyway, sorry, I went on far too long.
Oh no, please. I'm Charlie. This is Julie. We're Hip Hop McDougal. We make kind of hip hop pop music about things that revolve around geek culture. It happen to be some of our favorite things as well. We started making music about 14 years ago, maybe, together. Best friends, get to hang out, make music all the time. Every once in a while we get invited to something like this, which is just awesome. Usually we're just hanging out, but just hanging out and singing songs together. We got invited here by Jonah Knight, who couldn't be here. Unfortunately, he was stranded somewhere with the weather. But we played shows with him, 12 years ago maybe, and he reached out to us. I remember playing shows with you. Do you want to come do this? So very grateful to be here, and just happy to be involved. Never been on a panel before. Never had a placard, guys. This is keeping this. It's awesome. Yeah. So thanks for having us.
Angela?
Hi everybody, my name is Angela Pritchett, or as that one YouTube comment said, the thick girl from the J.G. Wentworth commercial. I know, right? Never read the comments, guys. Never have your friends send you the comments. So yeah, I'm the costuming guest of honor. I like to wear costumes and walk around in them. I've been doing it since before it was really like a thing, like super popular. I remember when Star Wars Special Editions came out, I dressed up as Princess Leia and lost like 5 friends because they thought it was weird.
Well, they weren't wrong.
I mean, yeah, but like, come on now. I know their brothers shopped at the comic shop I worked at. Okay? Come on. But yeah, my day job, I basically have 2. I'm an actor, and I also teach music to kids in the public school system or the private school system. It depends on which school wants to pay me that year. So, yeah.
I have been interviewing guests at cons up and down the East Coast for years now. Usually they give me a one-on-one with one of the guests of honor, and we get intimate and into a lot of details. But this time they threw me a curveball, and I get everybody all at the same time. So we're going to have fun with this one now. Starting back over here with Angela. What was the first time that you costumed as a guest at a convention? What convention was the first one to recognize your talents?
I gotta think about this. Holy cow. I don't know. It was either a LogiCon or RavenCon, I want to say, probably. Like in 2006, 5, 7. Around that time? Well, sometime around there. Yeah. But like, at that point in time, I had been costuming at conventions since like 1994 or 95, so.
How old were you when you first started doing costumes then?
12. well, making my own. Like
Yeah.
I saw the labyrinth, and I was like, I really want Sarah's poet shirt. My dad is a textile engineer who designs fabric and knows how to sew. So he was like, you know what? We're gonna teach you how to sew because you have weird style. And so he taught me how to sew, and then my grandma helped me learn to sew better. And yeah.
Your parents took you to cons.
My dad used to take me to
Yeah.
cons. Yeah, he would buy a ticket for me and him, or for him and me. Sorry, proper English. I teach music, not English. And then he would go into the dealer's hall, buy a book, and sit in the lobby and read all day while I ran around and checked in with him every hour or so. Sometimes he'd go to panels if they were interested.
That's awesome being able to grow up in culture.
Oh yeah, no, it was really cool. Like a lot of these people I've known since I was 12, and I'm 41, so it's been a long time.
All right, Hip Hop Duo. What of geek culture brought you into that aspect of music, to the geek part of it?
This guy, this geek. No. I don't know. Julian, he started writing music like on his own, with some beats that I had made, and he made his own beats, and they were just kind of like a little bit goofy and funny, just writing about some funny things. And then he reached out to me and said, "Hey, like, what if we like did our own stuff? You actually like made beats specifically for the songs that we're like trying to write, and then build from there." But really, I mean, he kicked it off. I was in a punk band in college called the Jawas that did like a similar thing where we like wrote Star Wars songs about video games, and it was just like it was fun. It was like low pressure. I don't like the pressure of music and like bearing my soul. I write those songs too, but like I don't really like that part of it. I like just having fun, and I feel like there's like no, you can't be like, oh, that song about Jesus really sucks. Like it's like, it's I don't know, it's a lot more fun and carefree and light, and I think that attracted me to continue to do it. But I don't know, do a better origin story. Yeah, great.
I'm sorry, totally. I just wanted to know that.
We're in Germantown, Maryland.
Okay.
Yeah, about 3 hours.
So are you mostly exclusively nerdcore, or do you branch out to other stuff?
I think this is it.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, and
The beats sometimes stray into other genres.
yeah, I know what I really like about doing the hip hop stuff is like I produce all the beats and the music and play instruments on it and stuff, but like we're not tied to one sound, which is nice. So every Halloween we put out a Halloween song and like get to explore different kinds of Halloween sounds, and then we've done Christmas stuff, and then throughout the year it's like, oh, this is a Star Wars song, what should the music sound like? So the music is like kind of all over the place, and which is a lot of fun. So it's cool.
When you run into people at conventions that aren't familiar with you, how do you describe your work to them?
Fun, nerd pop, hip hop maybe. I don't know. We try to. I think our real power is in our performance, like interacting with crowds, and we throw things at the crowd, interact, and try to get people to sing back to us and things like that. So, we try to push the like, come see us. It'll be fun. I promise. Even if you don't like us as people, maybe the music. No, it's a good time, I guess.
Keith,
Yes.
how do you find the time?
Well, I've given up on such outmoded concepts as sleep.
Yeah.
No, it's a busy life. I mean, I write. I also do some freelance editing. I'm a martial artist also, and I teach once a week. I teach karate to kids at a school in New York, and I write regularly for Tor.com, which isn't going to be called Tor.com for much longer. They're going to be changing their name to Reactor Magazine. But I've been writing for them since 2011, usually at least 1 or 2 articles a week. Mostly about either Star Trek or about screen adaptations of superhero comics, and some other stuff as well. And currently, I'm just about to finish up a Star Trek Enterprise rewatch, which is the last of my rewatches of the classic Star Trek series. And then I've been reviewing each episode of the new Star Trek series as they come out. and so that keeps me busy also. And plus, I like to see my wife occasionally. But
how many actual franchises are you currently working in right now?
I'm not working in that many currently. I've been focusing more on my own stuff lately than the franchise stuff. I've written, it's already finished, it just hasn't all been published yet, Resident Evil comic book. The fifth and final issue of which should be out soon. It's called Infinite Darkness: The Beginning. It's a prequel to the Netflix animated series that came out in 2022 or 21, I forget. Time has lost all meaning over the last 4 or 5 years. I still think that 2019 was last year. But I have a proposal for an alien novel. I wrote an alien novel that came out in 2019 called Alien Isolation. I have a proposal for another one in with Titan, but I haven't heard back yet. Titan is also notoriously slow. I'm writing Star Trek fiction for Star Trek Explorer magazine. That's the magazine, the current version of the Star Trek magazine, and they actually have 4 new stories every month, every issue rather. 2 that are in the magazine and 2 that are in the digital supplement that goes to subscribers. So that's been fun, and that's been a challenge too because they have a 2,000 word limit. If any of you are writers, you will understand that is extremely short. The first 6 proposals I sent to them, they rejected, not because they didn't like the proposals, but because there was absolutely no way I could tell the story I was proposing in 2,000 words. And you really have to narrow the focus of what you're doing in order to make that
Average
work.
short story length usually runs 7,000 to 8,000 words. So
Yeah.
2,000 is really
Extremely short. Although I wrote the first Discovery story that they had in the magazine, which just came out a couple months ago, and it focuses on the character of President Rillick, gives her backstory. That was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that. I wrote a novel back in 2005 for Star Trek called Articles of the Federation, which was basically a Star Trek version of The West Wing. It was a year in the life of the Federation president, looking at the politics of the Federation. And so when Star Trek Discovery introduced the President of the Federation as a recurring character, I was jumping up and down in my chair. It's finally! So I really wanted to write a President Rillick story, so I'm glad I got to do it. But most of my writing time is focused on the franchises that I have created. I'm in the final stretch of finishing up the first Supernatural Crimes of the Unit book. There's my Precinct series, which is epic fantasy police procedurals, which is kind of Law and Order meets Lord of the Rings. One reviewer called it Dungeons and Dragnet, which I love. I really wish I thought of that myself.
Yeah, that's good.
But I've written 6 novels in that. One of my goals for this year is to write the 7th book, which is Manticore Precinct. And I've got an urban fantasy series that takes place in the Bronx, in New York, which is where I'm from. When people write about New York City, they almost always are really just writing about Manhattan south of 125th Street. And there's an entire whole rest of the city that always gets ignored. And I've lived in the Bronx most of my life, and so I've got an urban fantasy series that takes place pretty much entirely in the Bronx. And screw those people in Manhattan. And Brooklyn, too. We don't need it. But, so that's, the second book is currently in edits, and that should be out this year, too. So I'm focusing a lot of my energy on my own stuff. The SCU I'm hoping will do well for me. That's the first. It's with a publisher that will get bookstore distribution as opposed to small press. And I love small press. Small press is wonderful. I adore my small press publishers, and I love the following I've built with the Precinct books. But it'll be nice to get the wider distribution. So to answer your question, to answer your actual question, which I haven't actually done yet, spreadsheets. I keep and to-do lists and checking things off, which has done remarkable. Anyway, sorry.
As you can tell, he has a lot going on.
Those spreadsheets.
Candy, you're here as a fan.
Yeah.
What's your primary fandom and how did you come to it?
My primary fandom is Doctor Who, of course. You couldn't tell.
That's total shock.
Total, I know, but who would have thought? Second would be Trek. And I came to Doctor Who thanks to my local PBS station in about 1988. I had no idea what it was, had no idea what it was about. Came on Saturday nights at 10, and it was random, and I was the only person I knew watching it for years. And I would show it to people, and they're like, no. watching this with you, and it was a very slow process till I found out more about it as I grew up, because I was about somewhere between 10 and 12 when I discovered it randomly and kept watching it, and my PBS did not show them in order. So I had no idea what was happening most of the time. I don't know why he changed from one week to the next. Like, why a different person was being called doctor. I had no idea what was going on, but I loved it. I was just enthralled. And I think we started, I think it was a Pert week that actually was where I started. Because I had a real hard time and still do with black and white.
And this was a South Carolina PBS station.
Yep, it was my
so
local.
that might explain why they were. Yeah.
And they didn't have many, because they of course did not have complete sets of anything really. And it was so random, and if you missed one, even if they had aired it in order, you wouldn't know. And it's not like I had access to summaries or anything like that, so I would have no idea what was going on. But I really liked it, and I just kept watching it till I figured out more. And then when I started into cons,
Well, how did you find out that there was such a thing as Doctor Who fandom, organized fandom?
my first
I'd say
con-
Doctor Who fandom, it's not organized.
You're giving us too much credit. And also at the same time, Trek had always been a part of my life and had always been there. And the very first two cons that I went to, one was a day Trek with the local Federation group, when you could still get classic Trek stars to come to random tiny towns like Columbia, South Carolina, for a day. And then my first full weekend con, was Magnum Opus Con, which if anybody knows. While I was not there that year, that is the con that Patrick Troughton died at, second Doctor. He died there, and then I was there a few years later. It is quite known for its disastrous reputation, and it lived up to it epically, but I fell in love anyway, and it's in spite of its insanity. And I knew, like, the moment of clarity that I knew there were other people like me was driving up to Mock, because it was in Greenville, South Carolina. There was a car that went past me with a specialized license plate that said Doctor Who, and I said, I bet you that guy's going to the con. And no joke, the car pulled into the hotel parking lot while we were there unloading. And I was like, oh, and I had my epiphany, and that's it, and I've been coming ever since.
Yeah, I think everybody in here is old enough to remember what Doctor Who fandom was like before the reboot. America was a wasteland for Doctor Who fandom. It was amazing. You would talk to people and you would mention it, and nobody knew what you were talking about.
Yeah.
So, how did things change for you when the reboot came out?
It brought attention, it brought new fans, and that's, good and bad as every fandom grows. And that's true for all fandoms, and everybody who loves a fandom has seen that in their own personal fandoms. It's both good and bad. And it took me a while to actually get into the New Who. I had to struggle through, being able to accept that this is what it was going to look like now, with a budget and
Production quality.
yes, production quality, and it wasn't going to be all the bubble wrap and green paint in the entire UK.
Shaky sets.
It
Yes,
wasn't a
And running through
production
quarries.
anymore.
yes. Everybody should run through a quarry every time.
Yeah.
And so it was a growing pain, but it was nice to see people embrace it and embrace it worldwide, which I don't think had happened because we were all so isolated in our pockets of love for it. And the reboot brought everybody together.
What's your number one Doctor Who cosplay that you do that people know you best for?
That they know me best for, but they don't know what it's from. It's because my favorite episode is one of the most hated episodes of Doctor Who of all time, and I will cosplay as the Happiness Patrol.
Yeah.
And people hate that episode, and they dismiss it. And so for Americans that don't understand the politics, it's a very anti-Margaret Thatcher piece.
Yes.
And it's a very powerful screw you to Thatcher. But if you don't understand any of the politics of the time, it seems even over the top ridiculous for Doctor Who. Just stupid for Doctor Who. And I love it. It's obnoxious. It's pink.
Yes.
It's my signature color. And so I built a replica of the gun out of random things I found at a Five Below store and parts from a Lowe's, and Clay helped me because there's a lot of hot glue. And then my costume I originally made myself, and then Caitlin, our wonderful judge for the cosplay contest, actually went with me and helped sew and designed my new Happiness Patrol costume that I wear.
I actually did. I loved the Happiness Patrol when I first saw it.
I
when
loved it.
And I was stunned to realize that it was so incredibly hated.
I know, it hurt my feelings so bad. And everybody hates it so much.
I'm glad you're happy. I'm happy you're glad.
Yeah. And it gets confused with the name with
Paradise Towers. Yeah. Which I also love.
Me too.
Before I start up again, we'll run to the audience. If anyone has any questions. Well, you guys are easy.
Did you guys sew the outfits that you're making right now?
I'm sorry, what's that?
I'm sorry, did you sew the outfits that you're wearing right now?
No, Hot Topic had a sale on the jacket for like $20, and I went, well, I can't buy the fabric for that. So I live on an actor and a teacher's salary right now, so. No, normally I do make stuff though.
Sometimes it's just easier. You know?
Oh yeah. No, what I'm wearing tonight for the costume contest to judge, I made. But this one I was just like, it's easy and it's comfortable and it won't kill me to wear. It won't be super hot.
Mine's all her universe and Torrid for the most part. The trick with being a plus size woman is when her universe or Torrid drops a fandom piece that you like, you must buy it almost immediately. If you try to wait for a sale, your size will not be there.
I did sew this shirt.
Excellent job.
Congratulations. Too.
Yeah, I wish.
Yeah.
I like this design.
Because I can't, so Angela
What
can.
is what's your favorite costume that you've done over the years?
Oh, wow. So, my favorite is probably, this is a Doctor Who costume, my Clockwork Android from Doctor Who.
Ooh, that's a good
I was really
one.
sad. I wanted to bring it this weekend, but my parents moved and all my costuming stuff that was at their house is just in random bins. So I couldn't find my French hoop skirt for it. So I was like, well, it's kind of important to have on a French style dress, like very Marie Antoinette style dress. So, but that's probably my favorite. But I have like other fun ones that I've done. Like I get to run around in Osgood, which is always fun because one of my friends let me borrow their fourth doctor scarf. So it's a good winter con.
That's a good match feature.
Yeah, it fits with
Joyce
the
is
glasses
very
and
natural
everything.
doing that. Yeah.
And she has an inhaler, and I'm very asthmatic, so it works. It just works. But no, lots of other stuff too. I did Ewok Village Princess Leia that I really love wearing, which I made like a million years ago when the Celebration conventions were in Florida. It still fits me, so I just kind of.
You don't have to be able to sew. The first one that I made was like a found piece with additions that I put on myself. And it worked because the base was a coat. And then lots of paint, lots of glue, lots of, I can't sew a lick, so.
I'm a big advocate of just for costuming, figuring out what works for you and going out and like thrift. If you thrift, if you can sew, if you have someone that can help you, like stuff like that. I'm a big advocate for that. I run a really big craftsmanship competition. I think it's like actually one of the largest in the U.S. at Katsicon, but while that you have to make everything. I do a lot of panels here on like thrifting and just creating your own costumes that way because costuming and cosplay is for everybody and it doesn't matter what skill level you're at. If you find something that really works, and there's a lot of companies now which were not here 10, 15, 20 years ago that make like cosplay dresses, they make stuff like that, which are really, really fun. So.
Like Cambridge, she's got a shop.
So what, do you have anything that is on the drawing board right now?
Right now, I really want to do Lily Munster. I've been thinking about that for a while. I really want to do that. And then, I don't know, like, there's some classic Doctor Companions I want to do. One of my friends at Con Carolinas this year pulled out one of my second Doctor Companion costumes and wore it the whole weekend because she was like, I want something different. I haven't sewn anything. And so I was like, here. Where's some of these? And it just kind of made me go, you know what? I miss wearing old, obscure Doctor Who costumes that no one has any idea who I am, but they're like, that looks really neat. And I'm just like, yeah. But also finding color photos of some of the old second Doctor.
It's hard.
It's very hard.
Yes.
Like I really want to make that grayish, pink, silver, whatever Polly's jumpsuit is. But like every photo I find is a different color because they've gone through and colorized them. Like,
Yeah.
be consistent, people.
All right, guys. What's your process? How do you come up with the with the beat first, or do you come up with the concept first and then work around that?
Typically, drink. Just because we're friends, so we hang out. And then one of us has a dumb idea.
Yeah.
And it's typically the dumbest ideas end up being the best ideas.
Oh no! Never undervalue the importance of a dumb idea.
Yeah, I mean, and we thrive on them. But just like, because I think with us, the more ridiculous we can make a song or concept or whatever is, the better for us. It's just, why not? Like, be fun with it. So I usually have some idea with that, and then we'll like throw that back and forth, and then we'll just kind of be like, that could be an idea, and then we'll sit on it, and then like 2 weeks later, one of us will text each other and be like, look, I had this idea for a chorus, or I wrote this first verse, and I'm like, okay, well I'll start making a beat. So then I'll make music from there, just from that idea, and then when like a little bit of that music is made, I'll send it to Julian. He'll start writing some stuff to it. He'll come back to me, and then we usually spend 2 or 3 days for each song just recording, where he'll come over. I just have a studio in my basement, and he'll come over and lay down his stuff, and then I'll do the choruses, and we'll do doubles, and just kind of add that, and then I do all the mixing, and we publish all ourselves, and just on Spotify and things like that. So it's a very like in-house operation, but yeah.
Do you guys perform at places other than conventions?
Sort of. We used to play a lot more. We've been doing this like 14, 15 years, so we used to play like bars and clubs
Okay.
a lot. But there's like a Mexican restaurant near us that we're friends with that one. So that's like our home base now. Yes. Yeah.
You are the house band.
People come in expecting mariachi and they get like nerdcore. That is fantastic.
And we did write a mariachi song
Sweet.
recently, pretty much about that restaurant. So, but you can like do that when you're just producing stuff. Any genre, it's really fun. Yeah.
Totally go for margaritas and hardcore.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. We'll be performing it tonight at 9 o'clock. That song
We
is
just
on,
gotta find
is on the set list.
margaritas. There's a Mexican
Yeah.
place down here. We'll go get them and sing them and come back
Yes,
here.
yes. I love that idea.
So where do people get your music online? You guys Bandcamp or?
Yeah, everything's up on Bandcamp to download. I think most of it's free. And we're on Spotify.
Yeah. Spotify, Apple Music too, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Spotify's like our main go-to. Tell people.
Are you guys just doing this as a hobby, or you look to actually try and make some money on it?
It's a hobby. I mean, it'd be great to make money on it, but like it's hard to put your eggs in that basket.
Yeah.
So
Especially streaming.
yeah. I mean, yeah. And like even here, we're like, oh, well, we could bring our old CDs to sell. But it's like, why? Like, here's a QR code. Just go listen just stream it. It's okay. Like I would rather people just like listen and have fun. Again, it takes that pressure off if I'm trying to
I
stream.
have a 2022 Rogue, and I was so happy there's a CD player.
Is it?
Okay?
Yeah. My car does still have a CD player. I think it's hard to it's hard to get the physical media out there. Maybe if we had vinyl, we could like get that.
Oh, yeah.
I'm quite into that. Yeah. Maybe some cassettes. But
Yeah,
we don't.
I would have bought one.
You would? Yeah. Would you? He was pushing cassettes years ago.
I still buy CDs.
Yeah, me too.
I do too.
Well, I got some free ones. We got some free ones for you somewhere in our room. So.
We've talked. I've brought a couple of favorites from people. What do you have a favorite topic to cover when you're writing? Anything you keep coming back to?
And we have a lot of Star Wars songs.
A lot of Star Wars.
That was good.
Usually like
Yeah.
one per release.
Is that your big fan of Star Wars?
Yeah. I love some Star Wars.
Which trilogy is your favorite?
The original.
Okay.
The original. Can't beat it.
Yeah.
Just they keep trying, but they just can't. Yeah, we do a lot of Star Wars, and then like we try to make it like put like a funny spin on it. Like we have a song that sounds like a workout song called Boba Sweat. It's about like Boba Fett running a workout class, and he's got a whole whole like routines, like climbing out of the Starlight Pit and flying like an X-wing, and it's like it's all silly stuff like that.
That was an idea we sat on for like 8 years.
Yeah, had that scribbled in a notebook, going back through.
Like,
What if we do Boba Sweat finally? Let's do it. Let's do it. But yeah, we like to try to make it kind of fun. I don't think we have any serious, straightforward Star Wars songs. It's Boba Sweat. My girlfriend left me for Vader in the Dark Side. It's an emotional one.
Yeah.
Very, very emotional. What else do we have there? A lot of references. I mean, references end up show up in all of them. So, yeah.
Keith, you talked about your reviews earlier. Give yourself a plug for your Patreon.
Oh, yeah. I have a Patreon because it's a thing to do. And it does actually help pay some bills. I do movie reviews, TV reviews, stuff that I wouldn't necessarily cover on tour. And I do excerpts from my works in progress so you can see what I'm working on, little bits and pieces that I'm fond of. And also, and this has been a lot of fun actually, just as a writing exercise. At a $10 a month tier, you get every month a vignette featuring one of my original characters, which has actually been a tremendous amount of fun. Just writing these little scenes that don't really it's not a whole story, but it's just a little bits and pieces with the various characters from the Precinct series, from the Bron Bolt series, from the Super City Cop series, from Cassie Zukov, and I'm going to start doing Supernatural Crimes Unit ones as well. And that's just a fun thing to do. And then I've been reprinting the vignettes in later books, like the Precinct books have had some of the vignettes in the back. And then the highest tier, for $20 a month, you actually get a first look at my first draft so you can see how the sausage is. So when I finish a chapter, when I finish a short story, I put it up for those patrons. And then also one of the lower tiers at $2 a month, which is one of the most popular tiers on the Patreon, are cat pictures. Because as we all know, that's why they built the internet, was so that people could post cat pictures. And there are also the occasional dog picture and bird picture of when I visit other people. Because, we have two very photogenic cats, two black cats, Kaylee and Louie, who are very good at posing for pictures and looking ridiculous for my camera. But one likes to break up the monotony a little bit, and I do visit other animals, so I get pictures of them sometimes too. My favorite is, there's a tag on my Patreon for Loki. The problem is, this could mean the Marvel character, or specifically the TV shows, I've written about that. It could mean the Norse mythological figure who is a supporting character in my series of Key West-based urban fantasy stories, of which several Norse gods are recurring characters. It could refer to a very dear friend of mine who has a cat named Loki, so some of the cat pictures of that, and my brother-in-law has a dog named Loki. So there are a lot of Lokis floating around, and you don't know which one you're going to get if you click on that tag. But the absolute most expensive version of my Patreon is $20 a month. You can also just do $1 a month and you just get the monthly movie reviews. But it like I said, it helps pay 1 or 2 bills a month, which is certainly valuable and it's fun for me. I like writing the reviews. I watch way too much television, and it's people tend to enjoy what I write about. I've been writing the reviews and such for Tor as well since 2011, and I actually got started writing reviews and articles and such way back in the late part of the 20th century, and I still enjoy doing it. So.
You mentioned the rewatches that you've done for Tor.
Mm-hmm.
Out of all the stuff that you've had to rewatch for that, what's the one thing that you will never watch again if you can possibly avoid it?
Well, I've rewatched all the older Star Trek series,
Superhero movies.
I've done superhero movies. I've done Stargate. I've done the '66 Batman. It's interesting. I had originally said I wasn't going to do either Star Trek Voyager or Star Trek Enterprise because I wasn't as big a fan of those. I'd done the original series Next Gen and Deep Space Nine, and then in 2020, before the apocalypse, by the way, this was a decision I came to in late 2019. I changed my mind about Voyager, partly because 2020 was the 25th anniversary when Voyager was released. It debuted in 1995. And a lot of people, whose opinion I respect, gave me crap for the fact that I didn't like Voyager. Most of them were women who grew up in the 90s and for whom Janeway was their hero. Janeway was their captain, and they thought I should give Voyager another chance, and I agreed. And I'm glad I did it. A lot of the problems I had with Voyager the first time were still there, but I appreciate it a lot more watching it 25 years later, looking back on it, and I was able to better appreciate what the show did well, including the character of Janeway and several of the other characters as well. So I was glad I did that, and then at that point I had to do Enterprise because I'd done all the others.
Sure.
And all of this is by way of saying the answer to your question is Enterprise, which was terrible. It was I hated it when it was on in 2001, and I hated it again when I watched it again these last 2 years. It basically watching it again, and what I referred to it at one point is it's mediocre white people failing up, which it's still that. If I hadn't seen Quantum Leap and Murphy Brown before it, and Men of a Certain Age and NCIS New Orleans after it, I would think Scott Bakula was a terrible actor just based on that. It's the worst acting of his career by any stretch of the imagination. The show was remarkably unimaginative. Didn't really take advantage of its premise, and there were some moments here and there that were very good. But I'm coming to the end of it now, and even the fourth season, which is better than the previous three, it's better, but it's still not good. I gave it a shot. I wanted to do the same thing like I did with Voyager, and I came away from Voyager with a much higher opinion of it than I had the first time, and I was grateful for that. That was not the case with Enterprise. And in the case of Enterprise, I hadn't actually seen any of the third season of Enterprise before this rewatch. Yeah. I'd watched most of the first season when it aired. I caught bits and pieces of the second season, and the fourth season I watched a bunch because I needed to research it for pieces of Star Trek fiction I was writing. I'd never actually seen any of the third season, the whole Xindi arc thing. And man, they botched that. And it also had a lot of, it was very much a product of its time, and it was watching it now 20 years later was a reminder of how remarkably stupid we were as a country in the early part, shortly after 9/11. It has not aged. That's not a lot of that stuff. But, anyway, so yeah, that's the one. I mean, I watched some really terrible superhero movies. I have a regular feature that ran weekly from 2017 to early 2020, and then I revive it every 6 months ago because they keep releasing new ones, of watching every live-action movie based on a superhero comic book, of which there have been a few lately. And I started with Superman and the Mole Men from the 50s, the 66 Batman, all those terrible TV movies from the 70s, and the Christopher Reeve Superman movies, and all the way up through to the MCU and the DC books and stuff. There's a remarkable amount of bad movies that were made based on superhero comic books, but they were fun. Even the really crappy ones were mostly really fun. Yeah. So that's been great. Even that's one I've gotten great enjoyment out of, partly just for the gems I've turned up. I didn't know there was a Man Thing movie in 2005. Don't watch it. It's remarkably bad, and I remarked at great length on how bad it was. But yeah.
Candy, you mentioned the intersection of your professional career and fandom. How do you bring your nursing career into fandom?
Well, in terms of volunteering at cons, I'm happy to be medical. I'm a registered nurse and have been for over 20 years now. And I've been a nurse practitioner for 14 years now. So yeah, I am happy to do medical at a con. And then there's a little bit of geek everywhere in my office. Nobody knows what it means, so that's fine. I rarely get to work with other geeks. Every now and then I do, and it's a real treat when somebody actually shares some of my fandoms, but that's super, super rare. Or if I have a patient who recognizes a pin or something that I'm wearing, that's really nice. That's super, super rare. So for me, it's about being able to take my skills out and do them in cons.
She was a great asset when we were drafting COVID policies as well.
Yeah, there's a lot to be in there. And I've checked vaccine cards for you at the door.
Yeah.
That's an unpleasant job.
Back to the audience. Anyone have any questions? No? Okay. We don't have a lot of time left, so let's just starting with Angela again. You got anything you want to plug? Where can people find you online?
Where can you find me online? You can find me on Instagram @Angelise. I post my costuming stuff, I post acting stuff on there, I post random stuff. If you look at my stories, you'll generally see 2 very cute pugs and my 6 cats. The 2 pugs do not live in the same house as the 6 cats, they live in separate houses. So my 8 children, I wish I could take tax credits off on them. But yeah, so Instagram I'm very active on. I have a Patreon where I post a weekly Geek Girls Take podcast. I post again, more animal photos and just reviews. I used to do a lot of tea reviews, stuff like that. So just fun stuff. And that is Angela Plays Ukulele, which I'm a music teacher. I like to play ukulele. And I used to do a lot of nerdy covers on the ukulele. And if you live in Virginia, you can see me in the new Giant commercial, which is currently airing. So, yeah.
Alright guys, what do you guys want to plug?
I think just our show tonight at 9.
Yeah.
Be in the
Tonight at
ballroom.
9, ballroom. We'd love to get people in there, just to hang out, have some fun. Spread the word. Spread the word. Bring some friends. It'll be a good time. And then all our music's on Spotify. We did our last full length was called Rhyme Travelers. It was a loose concept album that dealt with us traveling through time and making music, and it's got songs from about Bill and Ted, and Star Wars, and Back to the Future, and all over the place. And then our last music video that we made was called Howlers, and it was a credits song for a fictional werewolf movie that would have come out in the 80s called Howlers. This is one of those dumb ideas.
Oh, that's great.
This is an idea that Julian sent me, and I said, no, this is dumb. And then, like a year and a half later, we were like, oh my god, we have to do it. So we made this song. It'll be performed tonight. Made this song, and then we're like, let's make a music video that looks like a credit sequence with names and everything, and made it look old and all DIY stuff. And that was our cosplay. It's doing werewolf stuff and blood effects and things like that. So, lots of. What's that?
I think there was a werewolf movie in
Probably, right? Yeah, probably. So just our stuff's online and check it out.
What? You've mentioned a few times now the dumb idea of sitting in a notebook for a while. What do you have in the notebook now you haven't developed yet?
It's all you. It's your notebook.
I think we've tapped.
You think so?
Everything. Yeah.
You have no dumb ideas.
You need new dumb ideas.
Yeah.
All fresh. Yeah.
Blue needs to
So
be
if you guys
around
have any
longer.
dumb ideas,
Yeah, we'll always take new dumb ideas.
I'm easy to find online. If you do a Google search on Keith DeCandido, I'm the only one who's going to turn up. There is nobody else with that name, for which the world is probably a better place. You could go to my website, but I wouldn't recommend it. It's terrible. It looks like it was designed by somebody who learned HTML in 1996, because I learned HTML in 1996. One of these years I'm going to actually pay to have it upgraded, but the free cache hasn't really been there. But it is a link dump to all the other places you can cyberstalk me, of which there are many. I'm on Facebook, I'm on the site I still insist on calling Twitter. I'm on Blue Sky, I'm on Threads, I'm on Instagram. I have the Patreon, as we discussed earlier. I also have a YouTube channel, which I need to get back into the swing of, where I read one of my short stories. At this point, I've read most of my short stories, except for the most recent ones, on the channel. It's now called Crad Readings. It was originally, I started it in the spring of 2020 and called it Crad COVID Readings. It was giving people something to watch and be entertained by during lockdown in that wonderful, wonderful year. I took a year off from it in 2022 and then started it up again last year, and just did it 1 month. I'm a little behind on it now because I uploaded one story and I didn't realize the audio was not there, so it was just me. And I got like one comment and nobody else said anything, and I was thinking like, nobody's actually freaking watching this, and it kind of dimmed my enthusiasm a little bit. I may still bring it back.
what are the RDA stand for, by the way?
My father's first name and my mother's maiden name.
Okay.
Or whatever you want, you know.
Real author.
Yes, that's one that's been suggested. So as other words beginning with A have been suggested also. Resident assistant was one that I got in college a lot. You know, but no, it's a tribute to both of theirs. And in terms of material that's out there, if you look me up on any of whatever your online book dealer of choice is, you will find a whole bunch of things. Some of it's in, most of it's in ebook form. Some of the older stuff isn't, but a lot of it's in ebook form, and then also in physical form. You can order. I've got a bunch of stuff on sale in the dealer's room next door, and you can find my nonfiction on what is still currently called Tor.com, and I've got lots of stuff coming out, so just easy to find.
I'm not a content creator, so you can't find me anywhere.
But what do you got going on the rest of the weekend?
For the rest of the weekend, you can find me next at the consent panel at 2. I'll be on that one, and then I'm on the Doctor Who panel, of course, at 6. So look for me.
Why are you on that one?
I don't know. They just stuck me on it, and I'm not really sure. I'm going to guess a lot of the stuff. So yeah, then that's, you know, and my next convention will be RecCon down in North Carolina in March.
Cool. All right, that's fine. Thanks a lot, everyone.
Thank you for
Thank you all for coming. Really appreciate it.